Hey guys, welcome to my next installment of Movies You Should Be Watching. Before I get into my new list, I want to do a quick plug for the YouTube series The Creepypasta Episodes. The series is run by Jacob Rohrbach of Darkfire Productions, whom you may remember as the voice of David from my short film Annie 96 is Typing. I recently wrote an episode for his series that came out back in December. It's an adaptation of the 9/17/10 creepypasta, and even though I wasn't involved with the production beyond writing the script, Jacob's cast and crew did a fantastic job pulling it off. Check it out if you have the time. He's very talented, and I can't wait to see what he makes in the future. Now then, I have another list of movie recommendations for you guys, so let's jump right in. First up on this list is the 2009 drama Mr. Nobody. Much like Frank from the second episode of this series, I didn't really know what to make of Mr. Nobody the first time I saw it. It's a very confusing movie, and while I didn't really like how confusing it was the first time I watched it, it's grown on me since. The movie is about a young boy named Nemo, and that's really all I can tell you without spoiling the movie. In a similar vein to Audition from my Halloween list, the less you know about this one going into it, the better. The most I can really say beyond that is that it's essentially What If the movie, and that Jared Leto does a great job in it as always. Since I can't really show you a scene from this one out of context and have it make much sense, here's a clip from the trailer that got me intrigued enough to check this one out. Hopefully it'll do the same for you.
You have to make the right choice. As long as you don't choose, everything remains possible.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Did you stay with your father or go with your mother?
Remember.
Hello, Nemo. I want you.
I want you to.
For as much as Anna and Nemo have consented together in holy wedlock, for as much as Elise and Nemo,
Jean and Nemo have joined themselves to each other.
Everything that you say is contradictory. Of all those lives, which one is the right one?
Next is the 2014 animated anthology film Extraordinary Tales. Now, before you turn this one on for your kids because you heard me say it's an animated film, you might want to wait until they're a few years older. If you're a fan of Edgar Allan Poe's work, however, then you'll really enjoy this one. As someone who only knows his more famous pieces and knew little about the author while watching this, I'll admit there was a little bit of a disconnect, but I was still sold on the style of all the individual segments as well as the incredible voice work, including the talents of both the late Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi. Essentially, this movie is a collection of short films based around his poems The Fall of the House of Usher, The Telltale Heart, The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar, The Pit and the Pendulum, and Mask of the Red Death. Since the segments are so short, I can't really go into detail about them without spoiling them, so you'll have to watch these ones on your own. This is one of the best animated movies I've seen recently, and hopefully you'll see why from this clip alone.
It was a magical place that filled my childhood with visions to stir the imagination. And now, during the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of another year, I was alone, passing through a singularly dreary tract of country, and at length found myself within reach of the melancholy House of Usher. I know not how it was, but with my first glimpse of the house after so long, unexpected sense of insufferable gloom pervaded my spirit. What was it? What unnerved me so in the contemplation of the House of Usher?
Next up is the 2014 documentary An Honest Liar. If you're unfamiliar with the life and work of James Randi, then I highly recommend that you read up on him a bit before watching this movie, as it really is sort of an exposé about his life. Basically, he's a retired magician who goes around debunking people who claim to have paranormal powers and exploit gullible people for money, and the movie centers on various cases of him discrediting con men such as Uri Geller and Peter Popoff. Within all of this, though, is an almost poetically ironic story about deception within Randy's own life that really enhances the narrative of the movie and makes for a really enjoyable experience. If you like videos of people ridiculing scammers, then you'll really like this movie.
Now, I'm going to see if I can take this rope off. It may take me a while, but I'll see how fast I can do it. Would you time me, please? Do you have a watch there? Just look at your watch.
Yeah.
How about you? Have you got a watch? I have one. It took 2.5 seconds. I think I deserve a large round of applause for that.
One of Randy's great heroes is Harry Houdini, and the life of Harry Houdini reads very similar to the life of James Randi. Starting out as an amazing magician and escape artist, he was a great showman and debunker and dedicated his life to keeping people from being duped.
Well, the thought naturally occurred to me that I could base a good deal of my life on Harry Houdini and his adventures, perhaps do some of the things that he had done, and perhaps even improve on them.
Open sesame, try that.
Open sesame.
Oh, wait a minute. The door's opening.
I wanted to break his records. I wanted to stay in a sealed metal coffin longer than he did, get out of a straitjacket faster than he did, out of chains, out of leg irons and handcuffs. I said, if a man could make it, I could break it.
There was nothing he couldn't get out of.
Next up is the 2004 family movie Finding Neverland. If you're a fan of Peter Pan, then you'll enjoy this movie. The film is a biopic about the writer of the play, J.M. Barrie, and how he found the inspiration to create the story in its original incarnation as a play. I'm not that big a fan of Johnny Depp, but he does a great job in the leading role, as well as Kate Winslet as the widowed mother of the children who reignite his creative spark. I'm not very knowledgeable on Barry's life, so I'm not sure of how much is shown that's actually factual, but regardless, this movie makes for an entertaining and sometimes even heart-wrenching watch. The movie is very strictly grounded in reality, and even though one could argue that the movie goes out of its way to beat you over the head with that reality at times, there are still plenty of moments in the movie in which the childish wonder breaks through and makes you smile. Regardless, it's a great family movie that I highly recommend you watch.
Bang, 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 bang. Return the boy to us, you nasty Injun.
Our people teach boy Indian ways, make him great warrior. Our chief, Running Nose, never let him go.
Bang, bang, bang.
Me wounded, Peter. Time's short. You go. Spread wings and soar like eagle above enemy. Fly back to our chief. Tell her of my brave defeat.
That's crazy. Indians can't fly.
Of course they can't. Go on, go on, go on.
Listen to us, boy. This Injun kidnapped you.
Not true. We kidnapped no one. You lost the boy. I teach you ways of the brave. I take you as my own son.
The next film on this list is a 2003 documentary called Ghosts of the Abyss. If you were a fan of James Cameron's Titanic and you wanted more footage of the ship's wreckage, then you'll love this movie. The documentary focuses on the scientists and cast members of the Titanic movie exploring the actual wreckage and educating us more about the history of the ship. Essentially, if you wanted a Titanic movie without the love story, then you'll enjoy this documentary. Even though some of the effects are a little cheesy and dated, they don't hinder your immersion in the story being told, and there's a coincidental event that takes place towards the end of the movie that really fits in with the tragic story of Titanic and puts a whole new spin on the film's purpose. There's not much else to say, so if you can find a copy, check it out.
See what that is?
Yeah,
windows. Windows. Dining room windows.
Tell them we're going for the window.
We're going for the windows.
Look at that. Unbelievable.
Take it real slow here.
Those are the lead glass windows.
Try to get your light up on those.
Amazing, huh? Yes. Turn off his spotlight.
Turn off your spotlight,
and
Jeff.
make a nice image of the windows.
Make a nice picture of the windows right in front of you.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh, boy. Beautiful. Still intact. Very much intact. Looks like the glass and definitely all the leaded glass, it's all there. It's not broken.
First-class dining room was one of the most beautiful rooms on board the ship. Among the passengers who ate here were John Jacob Astor and his wife Madeline, who were on their honeymoon, and unfortunately she would be widowed before the end of the voyage.
Next is 2013's Upstream Color. I think it's safe to say that Shane Carruth is to movies what Daft Punk are to music. They rarely produce something, but when they do, it's always gold. This is only his second movie, the first of which being Primer back in 2004. If you haven't seen Primer, I also highly recommend that movie, but you'll be left very confused unless you pay extremely close attention. I've seen Primer at least 4 times by now, and I'm still not entirely sure that I understand all the intricacies of the plot. Thankfully, Upstream Color is a bit more accessible to an average viewer. That being said, however, this movie is far from something you can pop on because you want something that doesn't challenge you. It wasn't until I watched this movie that I realized how often writers feel the need to pander to the audience with exposition that fills you in on everything you need to know. Thankfully, Shane didn't write this movie in that style at all, yet still made it accessible for those who were paying attention. Aside from writing and directing the movie, Shane also starred in it, edited it, and composed its score. Eat your heart out, Robert Rodriguez. Anyway, if you want to see a thoroughly gripping and mysterious story, then you should check this movie out. Next on the list is the 2012 animated movie Wolf Children. Contrary to popular belief, Studio Ghibli isn't the only animation studio that can make quality material. Now, I don't enjoy this movie as much as I enjoy Studio Ghibli films, but that's not to say that it's a bad movie. The plot follows a young woman who falls in love with a werewolf and has 2 children with him before he dies, and is then left to raise the 2 werewolf children on her own. While what I've said so far may make it sound like I have more flaws with this movie than positive things to say about it, I can assure you that the scenes it does well outweigh any flaws that one might have with it. The English dub is great, the animation is very well made, and it's far from something you could just put on for your children to shut them up for an hour and a half. If you're a fan of anime, check it out.
My brother Ame was frail and hardly ate at all. Between the 2 of us, Mom had to put school on hold and quit her part-time job. Yuki! Dad had left us a little money, but it wasn't much in the grand scheme of things.
That was close.
Wolves are people. We didn't know how to be either yet. And us switching back and forth between the 2 didn't make figuring it out any easier. For us, or Mom.
You gotta be kidding me.
Up next is the 2006 documentary This Film Is Not Yet Rated. For those of you who aren't movie literate, have you ever looked at one of these screens and wondered who these people are? Chances are you haven't, but you should know they're a collection of people who sit around, watch movies, and then assign them ratings based on a lot of stupid bias and hypocritical thinking. More often than not, they also prevent you from seeing fantastic movies that would have otherwise been fine anywhere else in the world, just because of a stupid NC-17 rating that prevents distributors from putting the movie out in a lot of different stores. This documentary seeks to expose their seedy and unnecessarily secretive nature so that we as a public can understand what kinds of movies are being censored for bogus reasons. Think of it as the real-life equivalent of waking up from the Matrix. Well, maybe a bit less dramatic than that, but you still get the point. Anyway, This Film Is Not Yet Rated. See it.
If you make a movie that a lot of people want to see, no rating will hurt you. If you make a movie that few people want to see, no rating will help you. Ratings have nothing to do with box office.
The difference between NC-17 and R rating could be millions of dollars. It could mean the difference of, on some films, maybe even tens of millions of dollars, because it definitely limits your ability to market the film. If you're limited on your ability to market a film, people aren't aware of it, they're not going to know to even go to the theater to see that movie.
And if you choose not to accept the rating, then your ads don't really run. You can't run TV spots. You can't, like, if they run a TV spot for a movie that hasn't been rated yet, they say, this film has not yet been rated. But you never see TV spots for, like, this film is unrated.
The worst censorship of all, I believe, is Walmart, Blockbuster. All the big chains that are probably responsible for 40% of all videos sold, DVDs, will not carry NC-17.
Jack Valenti's been very good publicly about, we serve the public, we serve the parents, it's a crap. They serve the studios. That's who pays their bills. That's who they are. I mean, they are the studios.
Next is the 2010 drama film Buried. While I often criticize Hollywood for not taking creative risks on movies, when I first saw the trailer for this film, I was genuinely surprised it got as wide a release as it did. You could argue that this was simply because Ryan Reynolds was the star, but if that's all it takes for me to see a unique and genuinely interesting story, then I'm sold. The plot focuses on a truck driver in the Middle East who is kidnapped by terrorists and held ransom in a coffin. He only has a lighter, a flashlight, a cell phone, and a knife at his disposal, so it's a race against time for him to escape. The beauty of it? The entire movie is shot from inside the coffin. We never leave the box that the main character is trapped in, which puts us right in this terrifying situation, and subconsciously gives us that much more investment in seeing him escape. So if you're claustrophobic, you may want to skip this one, but if you can stick with it, then you'll be on the edge of your seat for the entire runtime.
Hello? Mom? It's Paul.
Who?
It's Paul, your son.
I have a son.
It's okay, Mom. How are you?
I'm fine.
That's good.
Who are you?
It's your son, Mom. It's Paulie.
Paulie.
Yeah. Remember? We used to live on Colfax Street in the duplex, you remember?
Paulie?
Yeah. That's right.
Is this Paulie?
It is. It's Paulie. How's everything at the home?
Very nice. Your father and I have been playing gin rummy every night.
I don't think Pop's there with you, Mom.
How are you doing, sweetie?
Not very good. This might be the last time that I talk to you.
And the final film for this list is the 2013 drama The Dirties. If you're looking for a pseudo-horror film with a positive message, then look no further. Matt and Owen are two high school students that are your average nerdy outcasts who spend their time making film projects. When their most recent assignment to make a movie about bullying gets ridiculed by their class, Matt decides to follow through on the plot from their project and actually shoot up their school for real. Intertwined is an engaging story about friendship and what goes on in the mind of a victim who gets pushed to the extreme. Even though I've said multiple times before that I love found footage movies, I was a little worried about this one becoming boring as it wasn't advertised as a straight-up horror flick. Thankfully, that was not the case, and this movie makes for a very unsettling watch at times. The method by which we're seeing the footage in the first place is a little confusing, but I think I might have a theory as to why that is, so skip to this part of the video if you don't want anything spoiled. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So towards the end of the movie, Matt is shown to be almost mentally deteriorating, and he and Owen have several arguments over his antics. Throughout these antics, Matt is constantly making references to his own life as a movie and how he would frame certain shots of his everyday life. So this leads me as a viewer to believe that what we're seeing is Matt's twisted view of the world around him. Everything is a movie, so that's why he's constantly mic'd from the very beginning, and even shown to be editing together footage of the movie that we're watching. In essence, we're being forced by some extension of his subconscious to be viewing the movie he wants us to be seeing. A revenge flick about a victim who loses everything, when in actuality it's more along the lines of a horror piece about a man pushed too far. Director and star Matt Johnson is an incredibly talented filmmaker, and I'm very excited to see his upcoming project, Operation Avalanche. My only complaint about this movie is that it's impossible to get a DVD of it at the moment because the DVDs were released in limited edition and have since sold out. So Matt, if you're watching this, please bring back the DVDs. All in all though, The Dirties is a fantastic movie and makes for an unsettling and thought-provoking watch.
If we just went and shot, what did Muldoon say? You can't make a school shooting movie? If we made a movie where we went in and we just shot the bad guys.
Yeah, that's what we did in our movie.
But if we actually did it, if we actually went with real guns and actually killed only the bad guys, but we just blew them away, all on camera, Muldoon's like, you know guys, this is really, you didn't listen to me. I said it was too dark before when you were pretending to kill these guys. Now you actually kill them? Oh, you're actually going to kill these guys. Oh, that's funny. Oh, this is so sick. And the key is going to be making sure that everybody knows we're just there for the dirties. They know that we're just there to get the bad guys. And we can wear shirts that are like, we're just here for the bad guys. We have a megaphone. It's like, everybody, don't worry. I know we look dangerous, and we are, but we're not here to kill anybody who didn't bully us. If you bullied us, holy shit, you should be scared, because we are actually going to kill you. Actually, this is a wicked idea. We got to write this stuff down.
Well, there you have my next list of movies I think you should be watching. I'm sorry it took so long to get this video out, but I've been preoccupied with a lot of other projects, so I didn't have much free time to work on this. If any of these movies look interesting to you, you can find 5 of them on Netflix. I'm going to try and have a new list out for you guys sometime soon, but more likely than not, you'll be seeing some of my other projects slightly before that. I might make an update video sometime in the near future to sort everything out, as I have a bunch of different ideas planned. In the meantime, though, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.